How's it going, Doom Patrollers? Welcome to a brand new Doom Patrol Season 2 video. Now, in my past video, I said I would be doing a Doom Patrol kind of Q&A. It's about time. We're kind of nearing Season 2 every day now, every single week, considering HBO Max will be releasing in the next few months, which, of course, Doom Patrol will be airing on, as well as DC Universe. Now, in my video the other day, definitely check that out. It is in the cards above. I go over some new villain casting. You guys definitely need to hear about that because I go over some theories as well. But I think it's about time we just talk about what we want to see in Doom Patrol, questions that you guys have asked me in all kinds of ranges to do with any of the characters, the plot, even characters from last season returning again. So go ahead and like this video if you do go on to enjoy it, and subscribe for any and all Doom Patrol videos just like this. So kick back, relax guys, as this may or may not be a longish kind of video, and let's talk about some Doom Patrol. So question number one is from Maricela. I'm sorry, I butcher names all the time. Do you think new members will be added to the Doom Patrol? I do not necessarily think so, unless you kind of count maybe returning characters, which I'll kind of answer in another question from season 1. But as for the core group, I think there's still a lot of exploration to be left. For example, with Larry, we already know we're going to go into his backstory a lot more, everyone's backstory. So as for an actual new member in season 2, I just can't really see that happening because we've already got these core characters. Of course, the Chief, who I'm hoping will be a lot more prominent in this season. But I guess you could say maybe Dorothy Spinner is kind of like a low-key new Doom Patrol member because she has been a member in the actual comics, even though she's a kid in this. But yeah, as for an actual new member, I don't think so. So question number 2 is from Saul Goodman. It's going on HBO Max, so hopefully better CGI and other especially effects would be cool. Special effects. I don't think that's going to improve in terms of, just because it's on HBO Max, all of a sudden the aesthetic of the show looks different in terms of visual effects. I really don't think so. Plus, I think Doom Patrol's effects were great as it was. I feel like their visual effects has been done exceptionally well. But HBO Max, it's more of like a thing, like DC Universe and HBO Max kind of coming together to help fund the season, but I don't think that means much more of a budget increase, if any. But maybe a little bit, but I don't read into that too much. Team Radburn, do you think Flex will be given a bigger role this season? I really hope so. I think, if they've been listening to fans, they'll know that Flex Mentallo was a really big hit with fans for season 1. He was hilarious. As for a bigger role, as I said with the other question, I don't think we're going to exactly get a new member, but I'm hoping, we'll see him in another couple of episodes this season. I mean, he was in a couple of episodes last season, but hopefully maybe a couple more. I definitely think that is a possibility. I can't guarantee it. We haven't heard that, this character is returning. We've only heard some castings for villains and an official casting for Dorothy Spinner so far, but I'm hoping so. Hopefully they'll realize, especially like Kipling as well, who's teased to be coming back in season 2, those characters being popular with the fans in season 1, it's kind of a no-brainer to bring him back for another season. Milan asks, what do you think is next for Rita? So I would really like to see her hone her powers a lot more this season. I think that is probably what anyone would answer in terms of Rita. I think there's going to be even more exploration, as already said, into each and every character. The character development of season 1 was incredible, to the point where you think, is there any more? But there is a lot more they can go into. But I think, with Rita already managing some of that towards the tail end of last season, I think, with the teasers we got with her actually using her power, do you remember that time where she used it against Kipling and several other occasions throughout the season? I think if she could actually manipulate that to a T for whatever she wanted to do, that would be amazing to see. And I think it will be about her embracing herself and her identity in terms of how she's not necessarily Rita Farr anymore. She's her own person. I think it would be really cool though if they visited a romance again with her, but as for which character that could be is another question. They've already kinda tackled that with Mento last season, but you never know. You never know. So Quinn asks, hey Boba, I'm so hyped for season 2 and I have 2 questions for you. Number 1, what about season 2 is the most exciting and most anticipating thing that you are looking forward to? And number 2, do you think that there is any possibility that we could see Alan Tudyk return as Mr. Nobody for a new season? Because I just loved his incredible performance. I think we all did in season 1. And I really want to see Mr. Nobody make at least 1 or even a few appearances in the next season. Have a great day, Boba. And thank you for checking out my questions. No worries. So what am I most excited for in Doom Patrol Season 2? I think for me, it's a mix of a few things. I'm really looking forward to seeing my favorite characters again and just the character development behind them, because this show has this ability. I mean, I get emotional over quite a few shows, I suppose, but not quite like this one. They really, when they go deep into the characters' minds, and they really make me as an audience member feel connected to them. And there's not a whole bunch of shows that do that as successful as this show. Obviously, every show that's worth a damn does that well to a degree, but this, I really can't wait for more Jane Patrol episodes, or Rita, exploration, and Larry's exploration last season was absolutely incredible. The relationships between these characters, Cyborg was fantastic. Obviously, Cliff and Jane, I really want to see more of that. Those were some of my favorite moments throughout the season. Just that kind of parental relationship he had with Jane. It's just fantastic. But on the other side of things, I'm really looking forward to seeing what the overarching plot is. Obviously, maybe that's quite a given one for any fan, but I really want to see who is the big bad of this season, likened to that of Alan Tudyk's Mr. Nobody in Season 1. Obviously, they started that right off the bat last season, but it's still very mystified at the minute as to who is behind the big plot of Season 2. Maybe there isn't one. Maybe it's just dealing with the repercussions of Chief and dealing with Dorothy Spinner and her abilities. All we know is that we've got new villains coming to Doom Patrol Season 2, but they're kind of lesser villains, but I'm wondering if there's a puppet master behind these villains coming, or maybe there's something to do with Dorothy Spinner's imagination, and they're kind of like coming in and doing a twist like that, even though that doesn't happen in the comics with these specific characters or villains we already know who are coming to Season 2. I don't know. I want to know more. I really want the Brotherhood of Evil, but I'm going on now. And do I think there's any chance we could see Alan Tudyk return as Mr. Nobody? Definitely. I think if they didn't do that, it would be really silly. He doesn't have to come back as a main antagonist, obviously, even though you could argue if he was making an appearance and he got out of the canvas or the painting, if you will, why wouldn't he? Because, like, he's that powerful. But considering he's trapped in the painting with Beard Hunter, I think it would be such a missed opportunity if they didn't get him in for, as you said, an appearance or two. So if I had to place a bet on it, I would say he would definitely make an appearance. But my main concern with that is, if he makes an appearance and he manages to get out of the painting, then why wouldn't he kind of seek some kind of revenge, unless he's had a change of heart? That would be the most intriguing thing. So Adam Grunther asks, I really like this question, which member do you think will be the last person to forgive Niles? Well, I feel like I have an answer right off the bat, but when you think about it even more, each one of them has everything to, like, with their origin, is all down to Niles Calder. That's something that you could almost never forget and never forgive. You know, just put yourself in any of their positions. It's really messed up. So the person I wanted to say right off the bat is Jane, just because I feel like out of any of the Doom Patrol members, there are definitely some more than others who have a close relationship. I mean, think about Cliff Steele's relationship with Niles Calder versus Jane's. It's not the same. We know Jane definitely, out of anyone in her life, for the first time, this friendly old man came to her and took her out of that institution and kind of got to know various personalities. She trusted him. We saw that explored so much in the season. We saw how betrayed she felt when she looked back at some of the videotapes and then realized that he might have actually put her back in the institution, or a place like where the Doom Patrol, the original Doom Patrol, are, that she would have just been discarded aside. So I think, sure, everyone would have a hard time forgiving Niles, but I think Jane, it's a lot more of a gut punch. Everything Marvel and DC asks, what is the future of Doom Patrol? Will they all forgive Niles, or is somebody never going to forgive him, or at least have a grudge against him? So yeah, this is related to the question I just answered. What's the future? Well, in my mind, I don't think they could ever forget or forgive, because that's just something that I just don't know how you would overcome that. I think Dorothy will unite them all together, just kind of like it did in the finale, and maybe, you know, time is a healer. I think it should maintain as a grudge, just because, sure, they could, you know, over the passage of time, get a little bit more easier with Niles, but no matter what way you look at this, if it wasn't for Niles, no matter how they've come into their own now towards the end of the season, despite there's a lot more issues that need to be fixed with the Doom Patrol in general, if this never happened to them because of Niles, each of their own incidents and accidents, their life would have been different, a lot better even. So because of that reason, in the future of Doom Patrol, it does make me consider the possibility of the death of the Chief kind of storyline. I don't want that to happen. I love Niles Calder, but I'm wondering if he went off the show, like maybe that's one of the ways, you know, that could be resolved. I mean, obviously they still won't forgive him, but how are things going to go with Chief hanging out with the Doom Patrol members in Doom Manor next season when they want nothing to do with him? The only thing I could think of is, you know, Dorothy Spinner and how out of control her powers could be with the imagination of a child, that they're forced to work with him. But, you know, one way to sort it out would be to kind of introduce his death maybe, but like that may be too early for Doom Patrol considering this is just season 2. So Dominic asks, what is the deal with this show? I get it's a different universe than the Titans Doom Patrol, but what will happen with those characters, do you think? Love your videos, Boba. Thank you very much, man. It is a different universe. It definitely is. I think that even got solidified further in the Crysis on Infinite Earths crossover where they showed the Doom Patrol of a little cut clip from one of the final episodes of Doom Patrol Season 1 on a different Earth than the Earth 9 Titans of DC Universe. So yeah, that was literally just a backdoor pilot in Titans Season 1, Episode 4. What will happen with those characters? I really don't know. It is very interesting to consider because the original Titans finale did have a whole Larry's or something like that opening up a dimension or some this, that, and the other kind of portal. It is such a whole different thing, and there's a whole other video for that. But what will happen to those characters? I don't think, to be honest with you, they particularly care about really ironing that out with the audience. I think for now, you got Titans, you got Titan Season 3 coming, you got Doom Patrol, and they're going to be self-contained. I don't think they really care about this interconnectivity. And as you acknowledged yourself, you know it's a different universe, but you just want to know what happened with those characters in Season 1, Episode 4. I guess they're still out there, just in their own little different version of Doom Patrol, where Gar was a part of it, whereas in the Doom Patrol show, Gar was kind of never a part of it. It's weird, I know, but just kind of move through it. But related to that question, Cryptic Eclipse asked, do you think that this show will be affected by Crysis 2, even though it isn't in the CW? Absolutely not. I definitely would be really surprised by that, and the reason why you're probably asking that is because Doom Patrol did appear in Crysis on Infinite Earths. I can't remember what Earth they were on, but it was a scene of them dancing, and it was actually a deleted scene from one of the final episodes of Doom Patrol, just like how they used a deleted scene or from footage from the scrap finale of Titan Season 1, where you saw Hank and Jason kind of looking at this bright white light, but really they just changed it to red because of the antimatter wave. So no, I don't think it would be affected by Crysis. That was more of just a favor and like a tribute and a nice big all-round DC Universe thing for Crysis on Infinite Earths on the CW. But as for like their own shows on DC Universe, they won't be impacted. Like, you know, Crysis was impacted by like Doom Patrol and Titans in a way, but on the DC Universe side of things, they won't be impacted by the Arrowverse. The Undefeated Gamer asks, do you think the new villains would have more comic accurate costumes like the original Doom Patrol? I think this show already has insanely accurate comic book costumes, but as for the villains, you know, that we've already spoke about, like, Red Jack or Dr. Time, I really, really hope so. For example, Animal, Vegetable, Mineral Man, we've only seen him for like seconds at a time because that is quite a lot of CGI to do a freaking raptor head and then all of this vegetation and like broccoli kind of weird arms. That's what kind of makes me think, will they really do Dr. Time with a clock face? But I think they would, whether it's practically or CGI wise. It's very interesting to consider because you also have to take into account how much time will Dr. Time feature in Doom Patrol. Will it just be an episodic appearance, kind of like the Decreator and the Recreator? They were only in it for a little bit kind of thing. Beard Hunter, for example, was in it a little bit, but his costume's mega simple. I would love to see a clock on Dr. Time's head. That would be absolutely fantastic. The show, as I've already said, it's done so much CGI already. You know, just thinking about the several different episodes when we had Kipling in it. So I don't think they're mega shy to do stuff like that. And even if you think of Mr. Nobody, I think that was the best they could do with that kind of adaptation of it. Because if you look at the comic book version of Mr. Nobody, I feel like they did a really faithful job of what it would look like if you tried to bring Mr. Nobody into real life. So I think they're going to do their best. For example, if the Brain or Monsieur Marlowe ever comes to the show, I'm sure they'll do an actual CGI gorilla, just like Gorilla Grodd on The Flash. And the Brain, well, that's something else very, very interesting. They could do like a mix of practical and special CGI effects as well. I'm absolutely ecstatic and anticipating stuff like that because I think this show and its creativity and its weirdness is where they really thrive. And the production on DC Universe is one of my favorite things about the shows, whether that's Titans and their super suits and stuff like that, or Doom Patrol and their stuff. It's brilliant. If you can tell, I'm kind of a fanboy. Golden Goose asks, favorite character. This is really, really hard. I think instinctually, like right off the bat, I would say it's kind of a mix, because I love the double act of kind of Jane and Cliff. Their relationship is amazing, but then again, you make me think about another character, and it's like Larry. His character is fantastic as well. This is what this show does an exceptional job of, is making me love all of the characters. And that includes Rita, that includes Cyborg as well. They really went in hard on his backstory as well, and how that affected his psyche thanks to Mr. Nobody getting in his head. But I think the standout two are a collective for me, and that's Jane and Robot Man. I think initially at the beginning of the season, it was Robot Man. I kind of really liked his character and his backstory, and how that must feel for him, not being able to be with his daughter and just, you know, not feeling or anything like that must be really hard. But then when Jane kind of etched in, and their relationship, or should I say special connection, kind of became apparent, and how she was like disregarding him but he was persistent, I just loved all of that. So I can't choose one. It's Jane and Cliff. So Grubby Armadillo asks, will the Titans be in any involvement with Doom Patrol? Because I was wondering if Cyborg will join the Titans. I don't think so. Not anytime soon. Who knows? It could be down the line one day if all of these shows reach a few more seasons, but I just don't think they're going to concentrate on that anytime soon. If they did, you know, Cyborg joining the Titans, they've already blatantly established, as we've already been over, it's kind of a different Earth kind of thing. They don't really care so much about the interconnectivity. We know already the actors want that to happen. They've already like said stuff on social media and you know, in the comments section like Instagram. But that doesn't mean, like, just because an actor expresses something like that means anything is going to happen. So I'm going to say no for now. I really don't think that's going to happen. I know a lot of people want Cyborg on Titans, but I don't even know if that Cyborg would blend with the Titans show. Maybe it would, maybe you see that, but I'm just going to say no for now. Static Art asks, do you think the team will actually go out and fight crimes? No, I think they're too much of a dysfunctional family to do that. I think they'll unknowingly kind of do something like that, in terms of how they created their own trouble in episode 1 of Doom Patrol, and they tried to save it, but in their own way. I think it's going to be like that. Another thing is Dorothy Spinner could create very interesting scenarios where they're going around kind of creating problems, but they have to fix it themselves. But then again, we do have these villains coming in, and it makes me think if they do something like a larger scheme, like the Brotherhood of Evil, they're going to try and stop them. But I don't think they're going to be, for example, in the original Doom Patrol episode, or Doom Patrol, I always say Doom Patrol, in the Doom Patrol episode where they were actually with Niles and they were super suited up. I think we'll get to that eventually, but maybe not this season. I would be so surprised if they actually have them as a superhero crime fighting force, in the way that they even teased with the Brotherhood of Evil in that Mr. Nobody fake kind of vision with the massive ass robot that was attacking the local park. I think if stuff like that happens, then they'll go out and try to help it, but they've got a lot of issues to still figure out. And now a little girl who can bring things from her imagination to real life, that's going to create issues they've got to contain themselves. Jamir Heston asks, will we be seeing more of Crazy Jane's personalities? I think for sure. I think it would be really silly if they just, capitalized on the existing characters we saw like last season. I think Baby Doll will always, and characters like that may always be a consistent thing. But I think they should drop maybe one or two that we saw and swap it for one of the other personalities we saw in the underground to be more prominent. With each season of Doom Patrol, I believe Jane should always, or the show should write, or the writer's room should feature other characters, and sure, maintain the ones we know and love, maybe the most popular ones always being maintained, but I think some other ones should definitely come out of the woodwork per season and be highlighted consistently. And in a real kind of way, I get why they only do a few at a time in the season, because realistically, like, Diane Guerrero is a phenomenal actor, but if she was going to do like several billion different characters in a season, it's just not realistic. I know she's an amazing actress, but if she was to do 20, that's quite hard to establish the difference between them. So that's why they only concentrate on literally as many as you can count on your hand. But definitely one way of sorting that out and giving Diane Guerrero to really get involved in a few characters, realistically, is to only feature a few. So yeah, I think we will be seeing more for sure. Plus, we're going to go in the underground as well, so we'll be probably seeing more of the underground characters who don't even look like Jane, if you guys remember from the Jane Patrol episode. I think they'll do it that way as well. And lastly, everyone, David Dreadful asks, what is next for Cyborg? Well, I think it's more coming into his own. I think he for sure would stay with the Doom Patrol, but he's going to be more of the leader, and he's going to be more, not necessarily the leader, but he's always been the more responsible one in season 1. I don't think he's going to be obsessed with like showing his prowess and capitalizing on his leadership skills to get into the Justice League like Cliff always liked to joke about. But I think it's more coming at peace with his cybernetics, not thinking Grid's going to take over, and maybe seeing some really cool stuff along the way with his character. And also at the end of the day, this is kind of like an in-between Cyborg. He's not quite fully blossomed Justice League Cyborg, so there's going to be a lot more figuring himself out, as much as he appears as this person to look up to for the other Doom Patrol members in such a way where I feel like he does come across that he's figured himself out a lot more than the other ones have with their own issues, shall I say. I think he has got a lot of figuring himself out to do. It's kind of sad as it sounds, because he doesn't obviously like the kind of biotic kind of healing that he goes through if he gets injured. I would like to see more prosthetics added, but at the same time, they're doing it practically. So I don't know if they're going to actually chop off a bicep and he would have that then covering his arm. I think you could do that practically, but then we're going to have to think realistically of what the show would do there. I think that would be cool to turn him more of actual what he looks like as Cyborg, because he does look like Cyborg, but they could always add more cybernetics to him. That is all I'm going to answer for today's video, guys. I actually answered quite a few of the questions that were submitted, so let me know what you thought about what I discussed based on the questions that these guys asked me. I would love to hear your input, because yeah, I'm just so excited for season 2. You can be sure there's going to be any update videos coming out for season 2 whenever there's something to talk about. You can check out my past couple of update videos where I go over Dorothy Spinner's actual casting. The Chief's daughter has been cast. We've got a villain known as Red Jack, and then I did another video on top of that where we have Dr. Time, who is coming to Doom Patrol Season 2, and how I think all of this could factor in with the main plot and the story. But it's been great to talk about Doom Patrol with you guys once again, so like the video if you did enjoy it. Subscribe, of course. And other than that, guys, follow me on Twitter. Check me out on other things. Links are in the description down below, like my Discord server. But yeah, I think that's everything, guys. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day. And I'll see you Doom Patrollers in the next video. Goodbye.